You could have the most perfect Monday to Friday nutrition routine in the fucking world. You could be hitting your deficit, eating your protein, drinking your water, smashing your training sessions, and you could still not lose a single gram of fucking fat. Not one. And the reason is simple: the weekend. This is one of the most common patterns that I see. And once you understand the maths of it, it becomes impossible to unsee. People spend 5 days being disciplined and then 2 days being relatively reckless. Then they're wondering why the scales ain't fucking moving. So let's actually break this down and look at these numbers. Let's say your maintenance calories, which is the amount of calories that you burn in a day just doing your normal activities, is 2,200 calories. Now you eat 1,700 calories Monday through to Friday. That's yielding you a 500 calorie deficit, which adds up to 2,500 calories over the 5 days. That's good. You're on track for just over half a kg of fat loss that week. And that is in a perfect world, okay? We're using this principle just for these numbers. But as I've made videos about this before, fat loss is not linear, okay? So you're not consistently going to lose half a kg of fat every week. That's just not how that works in the real world. But let's just say in a perfect world, yeah? Given these numbers, you're on track for just over half a kg of fat loss that week, okay? Now, Saturday, you sleep in. You skip breakfast. You have a big brunch. Let's just say maybe 900 calories. Then you meet your friends in the afternoon. You hit up a few drinks, maybe 400 to 600 calories. Then you're like, yo, man's hungry. Let's go get some food. So you have a meal out in the evening. Easily, 1,200 calories, 1,500 calories. And we're talking like, that's me being generous, right? You hit up a restaurant, right? You could very easily be hitting about 3,000 calories. You're adding your dessert in there and all that, random bits and pieces. Yeah, you're looking at about 3,000 calories right there. Or hell, 3,500 calories. And that's just on fucking Saturday. That's 800 to 1,300 calories above your maintenance right now. Your deficit for Saturday's gone, fucked, reversed. And then some. Sunday, you're hungover. Or maybe you underslept. You eat comfort food. Another 2,500 to 2,800 calories. And you're a few hundred calories over maintenance again. So the total picture for the week, your 2,500 calorie deficit that you made Monday through to Friday has almost entirely been erased. Or maybe it's been erased and you're now in a calorie surplus for that week, which explains precisely why the scale hasn't really moved, despite you saying, yo, I'm eating good, I'm doing all the right stuff, I'm working out. Now I want to be clear, right? I'm not telling you to be fucking miserable on weekends. I'm not saying never go out, never drink, never have a nice meal. I'm not telling you to live like a fucking monk Friday evening to Saturday night, because that's not sustainable or an enjoyable approach to life. But there's a massive space between monk mode and erasing a week's worth of work in 48 hours. The key here is awareness. Most people are simply not aware of how much they're consuming on the weekends, simply because they're in a different mental mode, off duty, relaxed, not tracking, not thinking about it. The goal isn't to be obsessive. The goal is to be aware. This is a conversation that I have a lot with almost all of my clients, right? Here's a few things that can actually help. If you find that you are a very social person and you are going out all the fucking time, the unfortunate thing I'm going to say to you is maybe you might want to reassess what you're going to, okay? And if that isn't really something you want to do and you want to be able to participate in these events and all that, then there will be times where maybe you don't participate 100%. If people are going out for drinks, maybe you don't drink. Maybe you're sitting there and you have, a Coke Zero or a Diet Coke or something like that. Or maybe you just don't drink as much. Some of the real world personal experiences that I've had was many times I have gone to the pub with my friends when I was dieting and I just sit there. I took things a bit extreme. I would just sit there with some soda water or just some water. And that was it. I wouldn't eat, they'll drink, they'll do whatever. I'm just there, I catch up. And then the kind of good thing about that was I drove. So I was a designated driver. I took my people home and I got home easily. Very cheap night. I still got the social aspect of that event. I just didn't, overdo my calories and I didn't fuck my diet. Okay, there were times when I was dieting where I wanted to be able to drink, yeah? I wanted to be able to get a little wavy and enjoy life a bit more. So I would do something like a double shot of Ray Nephews, which is fucking strong. And, a 0 calorie mixer or a diet mixer. So maybe some Diet Coke in there. And then that'll be something that, I will sip along. And whereas my friends have done like 3 rounds and I'm still nursing this drink, by the end of the night, I've totaled maybe 3-4 drinks. Whereas my people, they've done X amount of rounds. I'm still getting wavy because fucking drink's strong. I'm still able to be social. Here's the thing. There's always a way to get something done. You just have to figure it out. People are going to be like, I don't want to be there with water. Okay, then don't do it. I don't want to have to drink Ray and Nephews. That burns when it's going down. Okay, don't do it. But if that's what you're subscribing to, then understand when you step on the scale, that's the reason why you're where you're at. You see, something needs to change. Those weekends probably is what brought you to where you were, where you weren't happy, right? We are surrounded by good food, good restaurants. I've got a lot of clients who are foodies. They love their food. And listen, when I'm training them, they're telling me, you should go here, try this food and whatever. And I get some really good recommendations. But then I'm looking at them like, yeah, this is the reason why you got into the way you are, yeah? There were times where, I was a bit picky. I used to love just going out, I didn't care who it was, like my boy's boy of boy, right? I didn't even know this fucking dickhead, but it's his birthday, and my boy's boy was going, and my boy was going, and it was like, hey, Fee, do you want to go? Yeah, calm, let's go. You go there, you meet new people and whatever. Try to tell me that now. Now, my boy's boy, I ain't going fucking nowhere. Yeah? And that's the way I choose to live, because I'm always thinking about investing my time. Yeah? Again, I run 3 businesses, so I always have to be a bit picky of what I do, who I go and see, because I do a lot of stuff. And sometimes I don't get time to do my shit, simply just monging out and playing some PlayStation. There's times when I don't touch my PlayStation for a very fucking long time. But then there'll be times when I get into a game and I just want to play it, yeah? But what I'm saying is, you have to be comfortable with the possibility that, you might have to reject a few events. That then allows you to do whatever the fuck you want. I tell my clients, once I see that those events have gone right down, and they like go into like a restaurant, they'll come to me, Fee, what should I eat? This is the menu. Should I drink? Should I do this? And I simply say, look, you've worked hard. Go have whatever the fuck you want. Enjoy it. Because that event now has become the exception, not the rule. Whereas before, it was the rule, because every weekend you were going to a wedding or a fucking event or something. And that just became a rule. And at those events, you were indulgent, yeah? So there's 2 ways. You can either change the rule, right, and turn the events and all the weekend stuff into exceptions, and the exceptions allow you to, just enjoy, because it's not happening a lot. Or the rule is you go to these events, you go to the weekend stuff, the weddings and whatever, but you figure out a way to make it work so that it doesn't hinder your weight loss program. Alcohol is a big one, right? Because drinking your calories is a madness, right? Like a pint of lager is roughly about 180 to 220 calories, right? I know my people who can put down pints after pints. I think I've done like literally fucking 15 pints. I was pretty good, but I can drink a lot. A large glass of wine is about 200 calories. But then you have spirits. Spirits are lower in calories. However, what you find is the mixers are often high, right? I like cocktails, love cocktails, right? But what you find is a lot of the mixers that they use very high in calories. So like when I go out, what I tend to do is, personally, I will stick to rum, and I will do some kind of diet mixer. Normally like a Coke Zero or Diet Coke. And that's kind of what I would go with. If I'm doing a cocktail, it tends to be like a Long Island iced tea, because it's normally the one that has the most amount of alcohol in there. And then I'll get them to use Diet Coke instead of the regular Coke. Done. Yeah. Just understand that, this doesn't mean that you can't drink, but it could mean, when you say you're going out for a few drinks that you think is harmless, that could be 700 to 900 calories before you've even thought about, man's kind of hungry. End of the day, there's a few ways to approach weekends, but you need to do something. You need to have some kind of plan, because going all guns blazing and just kind of going with the flow and with the vibe, that's going to fuck you up. And you know what? It's an unfortunate thing. Yeah. It's unfortunate that this is how you have to do things, but this is just your life. It's my life. And the quicker you kind of understand that, the quicker you can get where you want to be, or you can get better. Yeah. As I said to you, I used to be incredibly social. Now, not only did I not see value in being that social as much as I used to, not only do I choose to invest my time in certain people and certain things that are productive towards my businesses, but I've dialed down the amount of social events that I do, that, when I go to a social event, I have whatever the fuck I want, simply because I don't do it that often. If I was someone that was very social, I'd probably make a rule. I'd make a rule such as, maybe I only drink spirits with the diet mixers, which I do anyway. That's just something naturally that I do, just to keep my calories down a bit. Or maybe I don't eat certain places. Or maybe if I'm going out, I eat certain food items. What I'm suggesting is, there needs to be a plan, because end of the day, you work hard all fucking week, and you do this with the intention of being in a calorie deficit and maybe carving out that calorie deficit. Just don't fuck it up in 2 fucking days. You deserve to see the results of your effort. I went a bit off script today, and I rambled a bit, talked a lot about my personal experiences and the way I personally do things. And I hope that it makes sense to whoever it needed to make sense to.